The New York Stereoscopic Association, Stereo Gallery.
We're going to do seasons and weather, which is the art of the stereographers in this room. This is our workflow. Artists work on their project. They send the images via Dropbox. We then take those, send them to Jamie. Jamie then edits them into a timeline, which we're going to show you now. So everyone has about 30 seconds to describe their image.
The assignment I thought was just nature. And I bought this camera in 2012, and we went to Montauk for a couple days. And so this came from that camera. This is Montauk Beach, and this is actually a composition. I found some burnt pieces of wood, and I like the clouds, and you know, I rarely put things together, but it seemed like all the elements needed to be put together, so I did. And again, this was from this camera. This camera is really amazing. This is the Lumix. I don't even know the number of it anymore. Anyway, it came out in 2012, and this is actually the first time we took it out of Brooklyn. It's got a pretty narrow picture on it, right? Yes, very, but. You still have some 3D there. Yes, I was just amazed. We'll see. Actually, this shot I find was very W3, but I just like the clarity of it. And also, these shapes, you know, in the 1950s, we used to watch the Jetsons, and I thought the artwork was all kind of just helter-skelter, but to see nature doing those patterns, and to see it in that fun, silly way. It's silly waves. This rock actually has a history behind it for us because we went back to it and shot it in different times. And I was thinking of, in the future, possibly doing a piece that has 30 different moods of this rock because it looks like a setting. It looks like if an art department in a movie came along and did that, they would say, well, you can't do that. It doesn't look real. But this is real. This is exactly the way the rock was with the things on top. This is another composition. I was picked up a feather, and I was shooting it in the sky and in the waves, and nothing was working. And then when I just went on the abstract pattern on the sand, it just worked. And I liked how the bubbles on here, the details. This camera picked up all these details flawlessly and effortlessly. And to think it's in a point-and-shoot camera, it's just hard to believe.
Is that still being made or what?
Is that what?
Is it still out?
Yes, it's Japanese only. You can only buy it on Google in Japanese. This actually, I liked how there was a back and forward, and there's a partner image you'll see coming up. I wanted to show these with this one. See how they're similar in a way. And I sometime down the line, post-production, if you pull down the brightness of this literally would look like a shot of the astronomy shot of the space. And it's amazing. There's a term which has a lot of syllables, but it says phylogeny is something about something small looks like something big. We did a nature walk, and this was just lent itself to 3D. And I have like 25 shots of this tree. This is the one. I showed Alin what we had, and so she did a checklist. This was the one that popped out for her. But it's just amazing the textural differences all in one shot and in one tree. And again, this is the small camera. It's just phenomenal. The other benefit is Montauk, in a 24-hour day, you can go from deep fog to, this almost looks like California, And you'll see later, you just get sunsets. And this is all just pure 120 miles away. This is, I think it was the same day, actually. By the way, the next shot is only 15 minutes later. And again, it's just the small camera. I think this is all zoomed in, fully zoomed in. Also, just the composition of getting it actually literally cutting him in two. In another shot, his head is right on the horizon. So with the camera, you can just keep shooting. This is 15 minutes later. The same beach, the same clouds. And to think that it's coming from a point and shoot is just hard to believe. I had my big Sonys with me, and I took, I call them this is like a revolver, and the Sonys are like my rifles, and well, that's it.
Okay, yeah, here I went back 100 years and shot this glacier under the name of Underwood and Underwood. And I was hoping to come up with a picture of the same location 100 years later. Sometimes when you get cards like this, it even has the geographical coordinates. This is a storm down by the Hudson River. It was the most beautiful sunny evening. There was about to be a movie, and all of a sudden the sky turned dark. Look at the sailboat in the back, almost tipped over. There is a free popcorn stand for the summer movies in the park, and the free popcorn stand is directly behind you, losing its top. And the little dog thinks it's all about the popcorn. So here's just some seconds later, there goes the free popcorn stand. And how do you like the piece of paper, the newspaper, flying in the air? And didn't exactly level the camera, but it was starting to rain at this point, and you can actually see some rain, large raindrops in the picture. And I took shelter in the bus shelter, and it was really super raining, but then the sun came out. It was amazing. This is all minutes. It's happening within minutes. All of these pictures, except the ice picture that was first. And a few minutes later, here I am, and look in the upper right-hand corner is a rainbow. So people are out. The sun has returned. There's some really wet people out there. And I made a second version of this. I hope it's on here. It's not? No, it's next. Oh, it's next. Good, good. This is, okay, here I just did a correction of the geometry, make all the verticals vertical. It's something I often do. It's done always in architectural photography. I had met an architectural photographer years ago who said it dignifies buildings when all the verticals remain vertical. So here, after a storm, the Space Shuttle Enterprise, named, of course, you know, and they put it up, and they put an inflatable cloth dome over it, and first big storm, and the dome is gone. So I've done a lot of photography of this space shuttle here. And then there was a huge snowstorm, and this building is the West 39th Street ferry terminal, which I think is the best piece of modern architecture in New York City. and it's not widely considered to be that. I'm the only one who says it, maybe a few others, but it's just the beauty, and we're 2 layers of glass. Oh, and this is my last one. Here is also after a rain, and I had to do really good masking to make that bird light and bright somehow, but I did it in both eyes, and it comes off nice. And the water stuck in the chairs. I dug, especially when I sharpened it up in. So here's John. All right.
My wife and I were joyriding through the Poconos, pulled into a little state park and bumped into these guys. That's a sled team. That's the dog side of a sled team. And 6 of these guys can carry 3 adults through the woods for like 45 minutes. I'm looking at the front one thinking, he's looking at me going, hey, I can carry this guy myself through the woods. No sense wasting the time of 6 good dogs, you know. I worked on this a little bit. This was the snowstorm we had right after the meeting we had last month. It was like the 20th. But it was a beautiful one because the snow didn't hurt anything. It just kind of stuck all over everything. Normally it damages the trees. But I was actually having a slice of pizza wet in the place, came out, tucked in, took about 10 shots to get this one. That's a car kind of illuminating the back of it. And that was an interesting winter we did have.
Yeah, that was a strange snow. I remember that.
It made the trees look beautiful. Speaking of trees, this was about 2 years ago, that freakish snowstorm we had. It was you forget the freakish snowstorms, right? There's so many. That was like the 30th of October, and the trees had not really had a chance to drop their leaves, so it was a very destructive storm, which caused me to buy a generator because I live up this block. And it was the first time I really had any, because of that one branch hanging, they couldn't power the line up, and that caused me a tremendous amount of, you see, these guys hide around my house all year. And this is, of course, Christmas. My wife makes those nice cookies in the back. Hopefully she won't turn out like that little lady, because I married the one on the left. The angel is who I married. But see that? The snowman, that's like me on a good day. So I know it's a little wonky, comes out a bit, but I kind of enjoyed that look. So this is, it's spring because Park Avenue starts, they start putting all this great artwork up, and there's also the flowers, the tulips and all the flowers on Park Avenue, which is really quite beautiful. And that's right from my car. I stopped at a traffic light. As a matter of fact, if you look in this window here, you can see the cab that's next to me. That's a reflection of the cab that's to my right. That's what I like about 3D. It breaks camouflage so well. And this is one of my motorcycle rides where I'll just be, it could be off a little bit on the right. I know that there's a window violation, but if you look straight, it works, and it really does feel like you're standing there. That would be, actually, I looked up the date I took this. It was the day after my birthday 2 years ago. Just a motorcycle ride as I stood there and took that shot. Again, I didn't tweak it really too much because I like looking further into it. And then the whole thing works. That's, it's all about perception and how you perceive it, and that looks to me good. Oh, now this is you could feel the water coming down. You could feel that rain. That was in Central Park. I showed one at the last one, which was portraits, but this one really shows the rain. Look at that photographer, man. Yeah, well, he's got to do the job. But that was the soaking rain, and that was like at the end of the concert. That was the I think it was like in September of 2011, and that was from Stage Right. And it's summertime. I'm sure most of the people in this room have been part of a crowd like that at one time. And I certainly was. So I'm still there in spirit with the kids. That's in Schenectady. It's a thing called, now I can't remember the name of the thing. I go to it all, up till last year, they didn't have it. Camp Bisco. Camp Bisco. Like 30,000 kids show up, blow it out. It's fantastic. Now I can see the shows from Stage Right, but I'm still out there with the kids. This is a shot that I took with that camera that Dr. T showed us about, discussed at the last meeting. Very easy to shoot that with that macro. But look at this flower. It not only attracted bugs, it attracted me. I'm sure this thing is visible from outer space. And that thing is probably, it's not much. This is extremely tight. This whole scene is no bigger than my fist. It's extremely tight with that macro camera I showed you. It's like and I love it for this reason. Look at that stone. I didn't even see that you could see the crystal in it. Initially I didn't notice that, but you could see the actual quartz in the stone. But those three little, they couldn't be more than the head of a penny, the size of a penny. And life can find its way. Thank you.
Thank you, John. All right, this now is up in New England in New Hampshire. This is my pops a few years ago, and he had a barn converted into he and my mother's retirement home. And so for the first year or so, he had this tractor to play with, but that wore off, and now he hires someone to do it, and he's in Florida when it snows for those months. But it was fun for a couple of years. All right, now we're in Ipswich, Massachusetts. My aunt and uncle, who if you guys were here last time, you saw on top of Rockefeller Center. This is their backyard. They live right on a salt marsh. All those channels were originally dug by the Army Corps of Engineers for drainage. Just a beautiful place. They've lived there since 1980, and they've added on to it, and their kids have grown up there. And it's where we have a lot of the holidays for the family. And so I wanted to show it in a couple of seasons. Now this is fall. You can see now the tide is up all the way. And you can see how different. And it's just great when you're there. You have this sort of living organism that is the backyard, which is the salt marsh or the bog. And you just look at an hour later, you look and it's half empty. It's just a really interesting thing to have as your backyard. And now this is actually shot just a couple of months ago, or early March actually, during all that snow. This is just north of Boston, so this is all that snow we heard that Boston got. And this is rare for the salt marsh here, that it actually sort of froze up and didn't do much during this very cold time. It was cold and many feet of snow. Okay, now this is that same storm John and Carlton were just talking about, and this is right out my front step. I got a call from John. I was still at work. He said, "Oh, you got to see this. It's amazing." And I got home that night, and I just grabbed my camera and went right back to the front steps, shot this one. I love the red light from the street lamp down there, and I shot all three, the yellow and the green, and ultimately this was the more effective one. But it was a magical snowstorm, and this next one, it'll be coming up. We'll see that again later. Now, this is again in Central Park. Check out the towers in the back. You'll see those for the next couple. And again, for seasons, I wanted to kind of show the same place in several seasons. And so here, of course, Great Lawn in the height of summer. And almost the same place in the autumn with the leaves. The camera I used for all of these was the W3. But then I do use the cyclopedal, so I get the wide angle on it.
So this is with the wide?
Yes. Yep. Anything you would have seen today would have been shot with the wide angle. And now, yep, with the wide angle on the cyclopedal. And now here are those towers again in the summer with a couple looking at them. I love the weeping willow. Always looks good in stereo. And then not as many people around now. This is right near the Central Park boathouse, which whenever I go shoot in Central Park is a destination where you can get refreshments and use the restroom.
Did you do any post-production on this?
I just did a little correction with, with the stereo photo maker. But in general, they were. This one is, again, the same snowstorm and right from my front steps with just an umbrella over me to keep the snow off the lens. But It's a little bit of a violation, but I just kind of liked it, the way it pokes out. You can see the snow in the corner there. Now this is another tree in autumn over in Tompkins Square Park, a couple blocks from me, and it's a big subject I love to shoot, so I've just go there all the time to shoot. In fact, I went there for that same snowstorm. But this one I loved, and I actually have video of this same tree with the leaves. A gust of wind came and blew a little patch of leaves down right at the camera, and that looks pretty cool, but this is a still around the same time. It's Tompkins Square Park, a little frosty. I'm not sure what they were, actually. They do look like Oreos. Yeah, I think they were. I'll have to check it. No, the makers were long gone. This was a relic from another time. This is the last one. This is up in New Hampshire, where my parents have a summer cottage, and I was out on a boat just to shoot some vistas and some stuff, and then this big cloud came in and just looked like overbearing Mother Nature. And I love the kind of light on the left side, the kind of shining in under it there. But it really was not like a big thunderstorm. It just was a big cloud that blocked out the sun for a little while and eventually went away. And next month, please, everyone contribute. It's transportation, planes, trains, and automobiles. So if you have any cool pictures of cars, George, or anything else, please contribute. I'm sure you'll have lots of good stuff. And thanks again for the Stereo Gallery. Thanks.
Hey, why doesn't it say motorcycles, man? Now I'm out. Oh, well. Hey, that was great. And you know what's fun? It's like a photographic Rorschach test, you know. You're given this subject, and everybody puts their own spin on it. You know, I looked at it, seasons and weather. I took it, my way, and everybody, that's what's so much fun about it.
Join us here next time for another episode of Stereo Gallery, presented by the New York Stereoscopic Association.